Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's devotional. Our thought today is going to be a short one from Isaiah chapter 40, starting in verse 25. God says, "To whom then will you liken me, or to whom shall I be equal? Says the Holy One. Lift up your eyes on high, and see who has created these things, who brings out their host by number. He calls them all by name, by the greatness of his might and the strength of his power. Not one is missing. Why do you say, O Jacob, and speak, O Israel? My way is hidden from the Lord, and my just claim is passed over by my God. Have you not known? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the Creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable." We actually have a hymn, and we're going to read through the end here in just a second. We have a hymn, Saints Lift Your Voices, I think is the title of it, that is based here in Isaiah chapter 40. And the reminder from God, especially when people are down, when people are dealing with maybe a little bit of doubt, people are going through difficulty and challenges, adversity. It's interesting, Jacob and Israel, the people of God, are saying, "My way's hidden from the Lord," which is to say, he can't see me. My just claim is passed over. Whatever it is I'm asking for or praying for from Jehovah, God's not listening to me. And to that, God says, lift your eyes on high. See who's created everything in creation. Then, as he goes on, by the greatness of his might and the strength of his power, not one is missing. God brings out the host by their number. He calls them by name. But then he goes on to say in verse 28, the Creator of the ends of the earth, he neither faints nor is weary. His understanding is unsearchable. And I want to come back to that here in just a minute. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. It speaks to the power, certainly, that Jehovah has, but the fact that he still sees his people. But I want to focus on what Isaiah says, that his understanding is unsearchable, and that those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. First of all, just because God may not answer my prayer immediately or the way in which I think or expect, doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. And just because, as Jacob and Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, just because God isn't answering you, doesn't mean he can't see you or that he's ignoring you. God neither faints nor is weary. He always hears the prayers of his people, and he always answers them, no matter what. His understanding, though, is unsearchable. See, our understanding is limited by our human frailty, our human limitations, our little small ability to see beyond ourselves. And God sees all things. He sees the big picture. When you read an account like with Esther and Mordecai, and all through Esther there is the understanding of God's providence, all through it. And yet not once can you single out a miracle. And a miracle is the observable suspension of natural law. Not once in Esther can you put your finger on a miracle, and yet God's power is through it all. Well, how did he do that? Well, we call it God's providence. His ability to use his power in a way that, first of all, doesn't infringe the free will of man, but also that isn't required to break natural laws, to override the natural law of things. God utilizes timing. He utilizes situations, circumstances that people are in, and he moves things as he sees fit. His understanding is unsearchable. And when God hears the prayers of his people, like I said, he answers those prayers. But it may not be in the way we expect. And that's why we have to acknowledge his understanding is unsearchable. And there may be times that God allows things to happen. Certainly God does not tempt man. God doesn't tempt his people. And he certainly doesn't allow us to be tempted beyond what we're able to bear. But sometimes it can certainly feel that way. And that's when we have to remember that God is in charge. God has made a promise. And that God will never allow more to come our way than we're able to handle. But to remember that God knows us better than we know ourselves. God knows the situation better than we know ourselves, and better than we know the situation. And as we get to verse 31, though, not only can God and does God answer prayer in a way that we don't expect, but it's going to be in his time, not ours. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. The thought process here is, and I think this is interesting, that it's not just implied that God is going to miraculously give them strength or miraculously make them not be weary and not faint. It's those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. How? Just physically? Not necessarily, but the reminder that Jehovah is in charge. The reminder that Jehovah does see all things, and he knows all things, as his understanding is unsearchable. Waiting on the Lord, letting the Lord work in his time, that can be difficult. Because as human beings, we're basically overseen by time. I mean, time is kind of the whole thing for us. And unfortunately, also as human beings, we kind of want things to happen quickly. And that's natural. But unfortunately, not everything can be dealt with in a quick manner or in a quick way. And certainly God can help teach us patience and trust by allowing in his time our prayers to be answered. And in that way, those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. It may not necessarily be physical strength, but certainly spiritual strength, our trust and our assurance in Jehovah, mounting up with wings like eagles, running and not be weary, walk and not faint. To me, verse 31 is not a physical component so much as it is a spiritual one. That recognizing that Jehovah, he takes care of all things, makes all things beautiful, to quote another hymn and psalm, in his time. And we have to be able to express and show our patience and our trust in him, and not make the mistake that Jacob and Israel make. My way is hidden from the Lord, and my just claim is passed over by my God. No, that's not true. God hears everything, and he answers everything in his time and in his ways. And we have to trust that God knows what he's doing. And I think God has proven a time or two to show that he knows what he's doing. All right, that's the daily devotional for you today. Lord willing, our next devotional will be on Thursday at 6:30. Hope to see you all then. Thank you, everybody.